r/AskReddit. Parents of Reddit. What's something you hope your kids never find out about you? NSFW. When they come downstairs for a drink of water and daddy smells a little funny, it's because he is blazed as hell. We have had a lot of threads on /r/trees about the smell. It's distinctive, but children will associate it with their loved family member, or in this case parent. And one day they'll probably connect the dots and roll around laughing. I found out my dad blazed when I was 18, when my roommate showed me his weed, and I smelled it. Turns out my dad wasn't smoking cigars all those nights. It's still really funny, and I don't blame my dad at all. How much of a struggle it is keeping them happy, fed, clothed, and a roof over their heads. I don't work 2 jobs for funsies. It's a tough world to get by in. But I don't want them to feel the pressure I do. Just enjoy being a kid. You'll join the battle soon enough. Both my parents grew up dirt poor on farms. And seeing all they have done for us kids, it makes me think that the point of life is to give your little humans a better life than you had. This sentiment is exactly why I don't want children. This world sucks, and I don't trust myself to make that happen. My son is 5 and my daughter is 3 months. I hope they never find out how close their dad and I have come to divorce this year. I hope we can stick it out and still be married, so I won't have to tell them. Folks have expressed concern that I'm trying to stay in the marriage just for our kids, and I do appreciate the concern. I've seen that fallout in families and know it's very difficult. My husband and I are working hard to heal our marriage because we want it for ourselves, not just for our kids. We love each other very much. We are attending counseling and really busting ass. Too. I didn't realize my response would get so much attention. Thanks to everyone who has offered their thoughts and support. My mother stayed with my father because her mother told her she had to, despite the drug use, the cheating, and his abusive behavior. She eventually went to therapy and gave her side of the story of how important she thought it was that her kids saw they were together. And the therapist said, yes, you will be together. But when they see you two fighting and yelling, and if he hits you and doesn't come home, your kids will look at his behavior and think that is love. Right after that, my mother started to plan her divorce. She was alone, unemployed, had been isolated from her friends, and had 3 girls, ages 10, 7, and 1, but she wanted us girls to know we deserve better, even if it means struggling by yourself. Seeing my mother pull herself out of that hole was hard, but I can honestly say I wouldn't be as resilient as I'm today if I hadn't seen her put herself and her kids first. You deserve to be cared for, respected, and given mutual support. Anything less isn't love. Your mum is awesome. One was conceived on the first anniversary of 9/11. I remember because the TV was on and it's all they were talking about. One was conceived the first night there was no new episodes after the season of Rescue Me ended. Another when the Red Sox lost to the Yankees, and I was sad and my wife wanted to cheer me up. We both work crazy hours, so X has always been infrequent. That's how I know. Yeah. I wouldn't want my kids knowing I watched Rescue Me either. Pretty good first season. All the drugs. When their mother and I met, we were heavy into cocaine. Careful you don't withhold information about drugs to prevent them from ever doing any. It's the best way to get a kid to experiment with everything, which doesn't always end well. I grew up having an open dialogue with my folks, and I'm very consciously aware of the effects of different substances and which one must steer clear from. This can go both ways. My mother once told me about her experience with shrooms, and all it did was make me want to try them, and gave me the excuse that if she tried them and was fine, I would be too. Everything that happened between 13 and 23. Those that don't understand the history of their parents are doomed to repeat it. Now Jimmy, I'm going to tell you about my teenage escapades. It's for your own good. My mum and dad once told me Santa had a sleigh accident, so I'd get my presents after New Year's Eve, when the elves have fixed the sleigh and Rudolph's sore leg. I eventually figured out I got small toys in the January sales, because my dad had been laid off, and they didn't want me to know. Also explains the beans on toast 40 for a record number of nights in a row. AWW. For a few years now I've been seeing a professional dominatrix that does whatever she wants to me. Up to and including using my body for her other customers' pleasure. Not sure you want to know that about your mother. Not really. Unless they end up in the same stuff. Then you're gonna have something new in common. Yay for family activities. How I met their mother. I was married to my first wife at the time and a friend brought over a girl he was dating. We all became friends and she actually lived with my first wife and I for a while. She dated my wife's brother. And then one night her and my wife stayed up drinking while I went to bed. They woke me up the next morning with a threesome. And that's the story of the first time I had sex with my second wife / mother of my children / love of my life. That sounds like a porn parody of How I Met Your Mother. Yeah. I was kind of playing with the title. Not falling for this one. Kiddo. My thoughts exactly. By the same token. Something I don't want my kids, or anyone else, to know are my usernames on the conversational sites I frequent such as this one. This is where I'm free, and uncensored and unjudged. This is one reason I've seriously considered making a new account, because I used to use this username frequently several years ago, so people who know me could easily figure out a lot of the things I don't generally talk about in public. That I don't know what the duck I'm doing. I'm making up how to dad as I go along, and I'm therefore doing a pretty hit job of it. Are the kids still alive? Yes. Good. Are the kids fed? Yes. Good. Are the kids clothed? Underwear and a t-shirt. Close enough. Edit. I guess I'm supposed to do an edit when I hit 4-digit karma for the first time, so yay. My husband and I do this too. Although instead of clothed we say the right temperature and we add. Do the kids feel loved? Yes. I proposed to their mother while she was drunk and topless. I'm totally stealing this idea and proposing to my girlfriend this way. Yup, the ante. Do it while she's taking a hit. That they're funny, patient, sensible and nice daddy whom all of his friends think is a really good guy. 1. Was in a really nasty war in Europe. Like crimes against humanity nasty. I did not participate in them. FYI. 2. Hunted for really bad people on this war or wars. Actual evil people. 3. Was considered by his colleagues cold as duck. That coming from military veterans on various wars. 4. Was abused by his mother when he was a child. Mostly mentally but also physically. 5. Married their mum not because he was in love, but because he wanted something like a normal life for once. 6. Didn't left their mum when the first of them came in, he was planning it. 7. Didn't left their mum when the second of them came in, he was planning it. 8. Did left their mum when he could no longer stand her continuous depressions and negativity. They are my everything, but damn, I have been a duck up for 37 years and I'm beginning to reconcile with my past now. In part thanks to them. They are the first 2 persons I have ever really cared about, and this apparently set a bridge to know how to love others. Edit. Holy hid my inbox is burning and someone gilded me. My top comment of all time with a throwaway XD. I will answer later. I'm at work now. EU time guys. Thanks for all the support. I promise I'm doing really well. Holy hit. That is heavy. I hope you have a safe and calm journey to reconciliation. Holding on to your children seems like a wonderful anchor to have. They see me as a stable point after the divorce. They do not know how much I owe them for making me want to fix things up. I duck like a horse. Edit. This is nearly my most upvoted post. If you guys could stop upvoting about now, that'd be great. Save me what little dignity I have left. So you penis about where your navel should be. Where is that watercolor guy when you need him? He said he ducks like one knot, that he is a horse. That they were conceived after mummy had one too many vodka and lemonades. That's why my big brother has a helmet and nicer coloring books than I do. I hope my daughter never knows how much I'll let my appearance control my life. Eating disorders are a very difficult thing to overcome, and even though I'm at a healthy weight now, my self-esteem is the lowest of lows. I still see food as the enemy. I try my best not to let her hear me say things about my weight or food, because I don't ever want her to pick up on my stupidity. I want her to love herself and her body, just the way she is. She is beautiful, intelligent, and has so many things ahead of her, and I would be devastated if she ever felt the way I feel. I want her to have a positive body image and feel great in her own skin. I want her to be able to look in the mirror and only see the good things. And I know that starts with me. I've got to change to make this happen. I wish my mother had that same attitude. Every time my mother gets self-conscious, she loves to tack on a little comment about my weight to get me to feel the same way. It works every time. If your mom's name is Tracy, username checks out. I'm sorry to hear that. Though. A girl I dated in high school had a mom like that. Kept a diet chart on the fridge for both of them. Even as an ignorant and naive 14-year-old. It saddened my heart to see. I hope my son never finds about my X drive or how kinky I can get. Just don't break his arms. Number every. Duck eyeing. Thread. No kids yet. But I love acid. They can never know. By the time you have kids, LSD will be an antidepressant. Same with psilocybin. In the future, instead of seeing a family psychologist, you could be cramming the kids in the station wagon and driving to Arizona to eat peyote buttons with the local indigenous peoples. And it will be covered by your health plan. Wow. You are really optimistic. We are swingers. We just the other day met another couple that we are going to start dating and going to duck dating other couples. That sounds crazy in an interesting way. I mean, you have to impress two people, not just one. Technically three if you consider them being a couple as a thing. If that makes sense. I know exactly how you mean. We met them 2 days ago just to see if we could hit it off. It worked out very well, I must say. We got along really good, and we are currently talking about a second date. I have 2 kids, but this is particular to my first. I don't want him to know I have a criminal record, because I hurt him as a baby. That when he was born, it was the worst thing I have ever experienced. That I didn't love him, and couldn't even see him as a human being. That after raising him and his brother as a single parent for over a decade, I still don't feel like a father. I feel like an older brother, taking care of siblings most of the time. I will tell him when he's older. I just don't want him to stumble on it, or have someone else tell him. I think you should seriously consider therapy to work this out. Feeling like a bigger brother shows that you have compassion and love for them, and a professional can help you deal with your guilt and become the father you want to be. I wish you all the best, dude. I found a great therapist. Started going last November after all this resurfaced in an ugly way. Never had panic attacks and anxiety like that before. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. I know I'm late and this will get lost in the shuffle, probably a good thing, but here it goes. That when my daughter was 3 weeks old, I overdosed in a Walmart parking lot with her in the backseat. I was arrested, and the story was on the 5 o'clock news. No one even knew I had a problem, and that's how everyone found out. The pain medication, after giving birth, triggered an addiction I thought I had left behind. She was removed from my custody for 6 months. I was in and out of treatment for the following year, and was really just a selfish, aloof, victim-minded person. I put all of my wants before other people's needs, and even though I didn't want to be that kind of person, I couldn't figure out how not to be. I bounced in and out of her life for the first 18 months of her existence. Then, I got clean. Changed everything about myself, my lifestyle, and am a damn good mother that puts all of her needs before my wants. She never has to see me like that, or be put through what I was put through with drug-addicted parents as a child growing up, because I've broken the cycle. I got clean early enough to where she may not even remember. But I'd read the day she looks me up on Google and that news article pops up. Maybe I'll decide to face it head on, and have an open and honest conversation about it, before she has that opportunity. I just don't know. I have so much shame around the kind of person I used to be with or without the drugs. I'm not 100% sure on the psychology of this. But I'd say your story is a great what not to do for her once she gets to the age where it will become a worry. As a father of 2 who has never done any drugs, I think it will be harder for me to explain the reason to stay away. You at least have an experience to share. I just don't want her to feel the way I felt when I knew my parents chose drugs over me. I felt unlovable. Like something must be wrong with me. And even though I will never make that decision again. Can you imagine your parent telling you something like that? I will tell her eventually. But it's a conversation I'm really dreading. Mostly because I don't want it to affect her self-esteem or make her internalize that message too. Although I'm not rich by any means. I'm much better off than my parents were when they had kids. My parents got divorced when I was 18, just after I graduated high school. My dad got custody of me, even though I was an adult, because I was off to university. Although I knew he couldn't afford to send me a lot of money. He always had something for me if I needed it. When he passed away, I cleaned up his apartment. I found the past due notices for child support for my sister and numerous other things that suggested he had far less money than I ever thought he did. I expect that he went without meals while I was away to pay what little child support he could and to float me the occasional few bucks here and there. I was sick to my stomach when I found out, because he never let on, that he was that broke. Thanks for everything, Dad. I wish I would have known how much you were sacrificing at the time. That's the type of dad everyone should be. Using every buck on their children. God bless. Ducking like and subscribe.